हमें अपने मन को हमेशा संतुलित रखना है। इसी में हमारा आत्मविकास समाया है। वै मे सर्वं ओम ओम ओम। आत्मनि मे त्वं ओम ओम ओम। स्मारय स्मारय ओम ओम ओम। चित्तं शामय शामय ओम। स्मराणि सोऽहं ओम ओम ओम। शान्तं चिन्मयम् ॐ माम् ॐ। तटस्थं केवलम् ॐ ॐ ॐ। स्मराणि शुद्धम् ॐ माम् ॐ। Okay. So today we'll be doing Sutra 42. Sutra 41, 42, 43, they all are connected. We could have taken them together, but then the ideas are little complicated. So I thought we will deal with each topic separately and try to understand it in little detail. So this sutra, like the previous sutra, it has got connection with the previous sutra that the sound, shabda and akash, which we had talked about in the previous sutra, they are also relevant and important here. So this sutra reads, Kaya akashayo sambandha sanyamat lagutula samapattescha akashagamanam. Two things are talked about. Kaya akashayo sambandha sanyamat. Sanyama on the kaya and akasha relationship. And lagutula samapattescha. And samapatti practice on the cotton particles, small cotton particle. These two, they give the capacity of flying to the yogi. So काया व आकाश के संबंध में संयम करने से और लघुतूल हल्की रुई में संयम द्वारा समापत्ति से आकाश गमन सिद्ध होता है. By practicing sanyama on the relationship between the body and the akasha, and by concentrating on the lightness of cotton wool, passage through the sky can be secure. Now again, a very, very fantastic kind of Sindhi. But then when we look at the words, what they are saying, there is a scientific tone to it. If you will read the doctor's comments on this sutra, there's a lot of science involved here. Because any object, although it is heavy, it can fly in the air. It flies by displacing the space, displacing the air. Because it is displacing the air and it is working in the space in such a manner that the object is able to fly. So that we know about. But imagine so many, decades, thousands of years back, to say something like this, that there's a close connection between the space, the air, and the object. It is something which showed that there was a kind of scientific bend. And in all the siddhis of Patanjali, you will find that there is some kind of scientific explanation available to that. So from that perspective, we will try to see what it means and how really we can understand. We try to understand what this siddhi is about and how it comes about. So previous sutra we ended with certain. I made some observations, and those observations obviously they must be coming from my subconscious because they had connection with the coming sutra. So one of the observation I had made about sound and the space and flying in the space in the previous sutra. So same thing is mentioned here that when we talk about Akash, I had made a comment that according to science, what is space and what is matter that we had discussed. So I had given the definition of matter last time. Matter is something which occupies space. There is nothing in this universe which can be called matter and which doesn't occupy space. So every object will occupy space. That is how it qualifies to be called a matter. Otherwise, it will not be matter. Matter is something which occupies space. And then when we look at our body is also an object, like any other thing. Like the trees are there, the stones are there, various objects are there, vegetables are there, fruits are there, stones are there. Everything occupies space. So sky or the space, akasha. Now this the word space is used in science, and the word akasha is used in. So akasha, normally when we talk about akasha, we understand that when we look up, we look at the blue color which is there in the space, and we call it sky. But that is not the only meaning of the sky. That is not the only meaning of akasha as we understand in yoga and sankhya. Akasha is pure space, but pure space cannot be seen. So space is always occupied by some or the other kind of matter. So I had hinted to you that now when we talk about pure space, there is nothing in this universe which is not being pervaded by space, but there is no pure space empty of everything available. Earlier, I had mentioned that maybe 50, 60, 70 years back, scientists used to believe that this universe is expanding in empty space. But now they have come to a new conclusion that everything in space is occupied by a force. And now they called it dark energy, they call it dark force. So the space is occupied, and space is what is pervading. That means we are occupying the space. Space is allowing us to be there. And when space allows us to be there, that's why we are there. So everything is pervaded by space. We are existing in the space. That is the important aspect we have to understand. So that means we have got a very close relationship with the space. And another thing, last time we were talking about the shabda. So sound. Sound is the characteristics, or sound is the tanmatra of Akash. Shabda tanmatra is the tanmatra of Akash Tattva. So last time we discussed about this idea of Shabda. And what is Shabda? That also we discussed. Now, Shabda doesn't have a form. Shabda doesn't have any form. So when I'm talking to you, by certain mechanism where muscular energy of my body and combined with mind, certain activities carried out, certain vibrations are created in my voice box, and through those voice box, the vibrations are assuming a particular kind of sound, which is received here, and then by it is converted into maybe electrical impulse, maybe some other kind of impulse, and then again at your instrument it is produced in the form of sound waves, sound vibration, which is touching the ear. And then in ear also there is some kind of receptivity which is coming from akasha. Had it not been so, nobody will be able to hear the sounds. We are able to hear the sounds because those vibrations are received in the ear, and then those are again converted into certain other kind of signals, and we are able to make out a meaning of what is being said. This is how we hear the sound. But do we see any shape of the sound? Does the sound has any shape? Does the sound have any form? Sound doesn't have any form, and yet it is occupying the space. So now you see, when Sutra says, Kaya Akashayo Sambandha Samyama, do Samyama on the relationship between the body and the sky, body and the space, body and the Akash. So one thing is that Akash is all pervading. It is outside my body, it is within my body, it is everywhere. It is all pervading. So within body also the space is there. This fact we have to understand. But so what is the relationship between this outer space and inner space? Like, in Vedanta, they will give a very beautiful example of Akasha, in the form of Chidakasha or in the form of Ghata Akasha. So when we have a pot in our hand, pot has got a certain shape, but pot contains space, and that space is in the form of that pot. If the pot breaks, what happens? The outer space which is there and the inner space which is there in the pot, they become one. Similarly, our body also is space. But then this space and outer space, what is the difference between that? And then why this body has got this form? So this is the idea which is to be contemplated upon, which is to be concentrated upon, which is the object of Samyama. So as now we come again back to the sound, and so as sound doesn't have form, but sound is energy. Sound is energy. It doesn't have any form, but it is energy. Similarly, when we look at our body, if we try to understand our body is nothing but energy. Nothing but energy. So one may say that according to scientific definitions, our body has got solidity. It has got weight. So from where that weight is coming? Why this form is there? Now, if we go according to science or we go according to yoga, we have to understand that body is made up of millions and millions of cells. And all those cells, if they are not bound together by certain force, they will get scattered and this body will be no longer in the present form. So what is holding these cells together? That is the most important thing one has to understand. So if you have to understand our relationship with the space, I'm not moving space, I am holding it to a particular space within the body. Why it is so? So what is that force which is binding all these cells? Before going to that, now let us understand, if we see the body as a conglomerate of millions of cells, human cells, now what is the nature of this cell? If we look at the nature of cell, you will find no matter what kind of cells are there in the body, there might be cells related to bones, skin, blood, or nerves. Various kinds of cells are there in the body. But what is the essential characteristics of each of the cell? If we have to understand that, then you'll find that between inside the cell, between the nucleus and the periphery, there is a lot of space. There is a lot of space. So this actually, if we go to see, every cell has got tremendous amount of space within itself. Because cell is so small, so we may think that it is something very tiny and it must be solid. It is not solid. So if we look at the cell, individual cell, it is just a small dot of energy. It is alive. It has got energy. Like the sound is vibration and energy, same way each of the cell is energy and vibration. And they are cohesive, they are coming together because of certain force and they are forming this body, and because of that the weight is there. Now this weight is coming from where? It is coming, according to yoga, it is coming from ahankar. It is coming from our self identity. It is coming from what psychology would call self. We have a self which is binding every cell together, and this self is maintaining the shape of the body. It is maintaining the form of the body. It occupies certain amount of space, and within that space it is holding on everything and regulating every function of the body. Because as we are talking to each other just now, you are all focusing on what I am saying, and I am focusing on what I have to say. There are thousands of functions which are going on already in the body, although we are not aware of it, or although we are not regulating it. Who's doing it? Somewhere, this self, which is the so-called self, is what is doing it. So when the child is born, there's a self identity, and this self identity only holds the body together in the space. If this self identity would not be there, the body will not be assuming this kind of form. It will not grow, it will not sustain itself, it will disintegrate, or it will die. But this self identity is really holding. So all the weight, shape, form, it is being given by the ahankara, it is given by the ego consciousness, as yoga would call it. So even from the point of view of psychology, what is upholding an organism? What is an organism? If we have to ask these questions, what is an organism? Human body is an organism which is self-supporting. Like that, any living creature, it is an organism. So how this organism is being supported? What is sustaining this organism? So there is some kind of consciousness, some kind of awareness, which is there in the organism, which is supporting it and sustaining it, and which is responsible for creating the body and maintaining the body. So we body acquires a kind of shape, and the weight is also there. So by doing Samyama, this ego consciousness can be considerably overcome, and the body becomes light. That has been the experience of so many yogis. So through that, their body can understand the relationship between the space, and body becomes light, and that enables the yogi to really fly. That is the contention, and that is the idea which is there in the first part of the sutra, Kaya Akashayo Sambandha Samyama. So now one may ask that, how it is happening. There are instances where yogis have been seen or witnessed flying. And even now, today's world also, there are certain disciplines where the flying is being practiced or it's being attempted. And I can say that certain examples which came to my mind about this idea of flying. In religious scriptures, several instances are there where people are able to walk on the water, or they are able to fly. Like in Bible, there is one instance. Because why I'm saying this is because in the Vyas Bhashya, in the last few lines, if you see what it says, or by meditation, no, the last sentence, yogin becomes light. By becoming light, he can walk on water and then on cobwebs and on the rays of lights, right? Light. Yogi becomes light. By becoming light, he can walk on water and then on cobwebs and on rays of light. Thereafter, he can move to the sky at his will. That is what the Vyas Bhashya says, the commentary. So when I was thinking about it, certain instances which came to my mind from the scriptures, there are several instances where you'll find that, people are depicted flying in the scriptures. Bible is one place where you'll find. In Bible, beautiful explanations are there. In fact, when I was reading this, I also remembered one uh, anecdote, one story, small story, given by Father Anthony de Mello in his famous book, Song of the Bird. So in that Song of the Bird, it happens that a particular great religious bishop, he is passing through an island, and he remembers that some fishermen live in the village, on the island. So he says that since the time is there, why not go and preach to these poor people, innocent people who do not know anything. So he goes and he teaches them a prayer, and then he leaves. After many years, he is again passing from that island. So he says, I had taught religion, I had taught how to pray to God to these fishermen. Now let me go and let me check how they are performing or what is the state of their, have they improved? So he again stops by the island and he goes to the fishermen, and then the fishermen welcome him because they are really impressed. And then he says, okay, I taught you prayer. Uh, how's it going? They say it is going on well, going on well. So he said, what do you do? So they funnily they say, oh God, you are three, we are three, all is well, and something like that. Something funny they say. So this priest, this bishop, he's totally disturbed. He said, did I teach you this kind of prayer? And then he teaches correct way of prayer. And then he goes. As his ship is leaving the island, suddenly he finds, and it is getting dark now, suddenly he finds three lights just at the shore. And then he watches, and then he sees that lights are moving towards the ship. And when the light comes close to the ship, he finds that three fishermen are carrying lamps and they are walking towards the ship. And all three are walking on the water. So Bishop is really taken aback. He's surprised. And then one fisherman asked that we had certain doubts. So before you go, we want to clarify about the prayer. Now, father is so impressed, priest, bishop is so impressed that said, please just go and do whatever prayers you are doing, please do that. Because whatever prayer they were doing it with such sincerity and such truthfulness that granted them power to walk on the water. That is what the bishop was able to see. So this was a beautiful story which came to my mind as I was reading the sutra. There are instances of this kind, but then there is also in Udana. Doctor has also mentioned Udana is different kind of siddhi where we are not coming into contact with water, we are not coming into contact with the thorns or mud. That is a different kind of siddhi which has come earlier. But here it is actually flying in the air. That is what is suggested. So this flying again, some other example of Tibetan lamas came into my mind, where certain instances are recorded where the Tibetan lamas are really able to fly from one ground to the mountain tops, and they walk at a great speed or they fly at a great speed. And also, a few years back, when I was studying Tai Chi very deeply, this concept of body being energy. See, this is a very important fact. And today you will hear lots of messages on WhatsApp you will receive that energy never lies. You may be lying, but your energy will never lie because you are nothing else but pure energy. And that energy, and even if you according to the modern science, so modern science, when they talk about matter, what is matter actually? If you ask a physicist, if you ask a scientist, and you tell him, sir, what is matter? What is my body? He said, matter is also energy, but that energy is restricted energy. So all the objects in the world, they are all energy because you see, if you go to physics, what does physics say? What is this universe? This entire universe is nothing but electromagnetic spectrum of energy. It's only energy, pure energy. And energy converts into different forms. Magnetic energy, electric energy, gravity, and so many different kind of energies, the light. So different kind of energies are there. So according to science, the matter is also restricted energy. So that means we have to understand our body is nothing but energy. And those who work with the energy, they understand how light the body becomes, how light the body can be made, those who are working at it. So as I was telling you, a few years back, I came across, I was really, kind of hit by Tai Chi. I was very deeply interested in Tai Chi. And continuously, I was reading about Tai Chi, experimenting with Tai Chi, and very seriously collecting books. reading all the possible, like I used to do in case of yoga, I also started doing in case of Tai Chi. And then my good friend who stays at Khar, she's not here today. Sometimes she attends. She presented me with some books. She gave me some books. I read them. She gave me another important book in which there's a practice called Qigong. Qigong. Now, is Qigong practice is done by movements also, in movements also, and sitting also. So there was one sitting Qigong practice given in the that book. And if we start doing it, it will take at least, if we are sincerely and truly wanting to experience something, then it will take almost half an hour or 40 minutes to be able to do it correctly. So continuously you have to be at it for 40 minutes, almost 30 to 40 minutes. And then some kind of experience of energy could be there. So there the suggestion is that you have to feel that as if, every cell of the body, normally gravity comes or the heaviness comes from the closeness of the cells coming together, sticking to each other, becoming narrow and congestion. Even the energy flow in the body is restricted because of this congestion. So the suggestion was that feel as if, every cell of the body, every cell of the brain are becoming free. They are becoming separate. And you can feel that all the cells are expanding. They are separating from each other and there's a space between them. This is part of the technique. And then you can really feel, and then the suggestion was there, ultimately you will feel as if the body is not there, as if the energy is passing, the air is passing through your body. The air comes, normally air is restricted. We are holding, if the we can feel with the hand, the air comes here, touches here, stops here. They say that you will feel as if the air is passing through your body. So body will become porous, because actually it is porous. That is the contention of Tai Chi masters. So this sitting Qigong was really very, very important technique where this kind of experiences. Now, Samyama is that only. When we are talking about relationship between the space and the body, there is space in the body, but we are not able to realize. We think body is a very solid thing. Even for that matter, when we look at a piece of iron, we think it is a solid piece. But is it solid? Is it solid? If we look at it scientifically, correctly, is iron piece a solid thing? You'll find each iron piece is again composed of certain atoms. And in each of the atom, there is enough space to call it spatial. Because when you look at the atom of iron, what is the nucleus is there and the electrons are there. At the nucleus, the protons are there, neutrons are there. But that nucleus is so tiny, it is just a dot. And electrons that are at a great distance from that nucleus and they are moving. In between the nucleus and the electrons, there is pure space. But electrons determine the size of the atom and the boundary of the atom. So next to the one atom, there will be another atom which will again have the similar kind of structure. So in fact, if we look at the iron piece from a very, very powerful kind of electromagnetic, we multiply the image and, uh, it is enhanced. Perhaps we'll be able to see that even the so-called piece of iron is also porous. This is a scientific fact. So what we considered as something very solid is also not solid. So what about body? Body is very diluted thing. It is, when we look at the flesh is very light and it has got very less weight in comparison to the iron piece. So this idea of Tai Chi and this idea of yoga that, body can become so light that, as everything as if can pass through the body. That was one great experience which they talked about. And I used to experiment a lot with it for quite many months. I keep trying practicing it. And sometimes I had good experiences with it. In the sense, I'm not saying that I was able to fly or float or anything, nothing of that sort. What I'm saying is the body started feeling very light. The moment you do it correctly, the body becomes very light, and you get a feeling when you're walking. There is no force involved. There's no kind of restriction involved. You are as if moving in a very smooth, graceful. What will happen if you are in a area where no gravity is there? Like recently, you must have seen Sunita Williams doing some jugglery in the spaceship because there was no gravity. Just jump up, she'll go down. So that kind of weightlessness is gained in the body. That can be Varshaji, Varshaji. Uh, okay, okay. So that weightlessness is there. So in a way, gravity is also pulling the body. That is creating the weight because the cells are there. The gravity is pulling, and that is creating the weight. And perhaps something could be done to that also. And when we are doing this Tai Chi like thing or Qigong kind of thing, people just become light, and you can experience that lightness when you are walking. You are as if floating, and you are as if moving very gracefully. That is the experience you can easily get. And same happens when you have done Shavasana. Not only Tai Chi, Qigong is related with energy, directly working on it. Sometimes in Shavasana, one feels as if he is floating. There's no body weight being felt. There's no ground being felt. Body is as if being uplifted. Body is as if floating in the air. That is the kind of experience one gets when a good Shavasana is done. Because when the relaxation is there, see the tension brings cells together. They cause congestion. They create weight. They create heaviness. Relaxation expands. Relaxation releases. And when there is complete release, and what happens in Shavasana, one of the essential feature of Shavasana is that our ego hold on the body decreases because we are somehow transcending the ego in Shavasana. The more egoistic a person, the difficult Shavasana is for him. If a person is very egoistic, he will not be able to relax. He will not be able to do good Shavasana. So this connection we have to see here. Long back, Dr. Jaydev often used to talk about a person who came. He was very intelligent person. He came to Yoga Institute, and then simple thing at Yoga Institute, everybody is taught Shavasana. Both kind of Shavasana is taught. Partial Shavasana and total Shavasana is also taught. So when he was being taught Shavasana, suddenly he got disturbed and he got up. He said, "You are trying to hypnotize me." Now, such a person cannot do Shavasana because he is so conscious, he is so insecure that his ego is not allowing him to become secure. His ego is not allowing him to become light. And the moment light, the ego is transcended, people who does not have a strong ego, you'll find they are very easygoing, very soft and just relaxed. So these are all connected ideas. So I'm mentioning it to you that how this sutra is important as a principle to understand. We may not be able to achieve this kind of siddhi, or it is still a fantastic siddhi, but the things which are connected to it, I am just pointing out to you about that. Now there is again, I'll mention about one uh, picture which had come, movie, Hidden Dragon and Crouching Tiger. I hope some of you must have seen that movie. Hidden Dragon and Crouching Tiger. The famous actors have worked in it, and they are all martial art. They are Tai Chi masters or Kung Fu masters. So there you will find most of the scenes of fight. Both the main characters, they are flying in the air. So when they are fighting with each other, they are flying in the air. So somehow this idea is very deeply rooted in this Tai Chi and the other martial artists, the classic martial arts, where they acquire this power. They can jump and they can fly in the air. Although in the movie it was done with the help of gadgets, it was done with the help of wires. But the idea is taken from the old literature where this kind of fights were there. And now also you can type in YouTube or maybe in Google, uh, walking on the rice paper. Walking on the rice paper. There are certain artists, certain these qigong experts or tai chi experts or martial art experts. They can walk on the rice paper. What suppose if the paper is suspended in a gap, and if we put our foot on the paper, what will happen? The paper will tear down and we will fall. But they are able to walk on those papers. How they are doing it? Because they can make their body so light with various kind of techniques which are there. So these are, various instances quite similar to the idea which is being talked about in the sutra. Sutra also is talking about another, there is also, this is the scientific explanation, what must be happening to the body, what must be happening to the cells, what must be happening, what kind of changes might be taking place, or what kind of control might be exerted by the mind on the body. This is being discussed about, but in Sutra, there is also another idea. Another beautiful idea is that also by doing samapatti on the small particle of cotton. Now, you see, if you have small particle of cotton wool, if you are holding, it will be there in your hand. What happens if you just release it? It will fly off in the air because it is so light. Now, this lightness of the cotton particle, that is the focus of attention. That is the focus of concentration of a yogi. Yogi is concentrating on the lightness of the cotton particle. And the word, very, very important word here, which has been used, samapatti. This samapatti word has come in chapter 1. In Sutra 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, these samapattis have been talked about. And what is meant by samapatti? We can understand samapatti, it is the highest form of engrossment of mind in an object. So as if there is a fusion of mind and the object. When that fusion takes place, incidentally, that is also the definition of samadhi. When we look at the definition of samadhi, the same definition is there. Tadeva arthamatra, tadeva arthamatra nirvasam swarupa shunyamiva samadhi. And samapatti, arthamatra nirvasa nirvitarka samapatti. So almost similar kind of idea is there. And it is again a psychological principle. You will understand that whatever mind focuses on, gradually, if the focus is for a very long time, if you are thinking about it continuously living in it, then slowly you start assuming some of the characteristics of that. That is a psychological principle. And this principle is infallible. People may think that people, suppose, in India, they give a great importance, they play a great importance to the sanskaras and what kind of company you are living in, what activities you are doing the day. So suppose if you are living amongst thieves, you might be a very honest person. But if you are living amongst thieves, maybe after 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, you will also definitely become a thief. Because you are constantly watching them, looking at them. So, even in these kind of effects are there in the fetus also. Because when some lady conceives, that lady is always told not to think of negative thoughts, not to get angry, and always focus on the right things. See good things, see bright things, see flowers, see natural things, or see the statues of God, or pray. All the positive thoughts which could be there, they are to be carried out by the pregnant lady. Why? Because whatever she will be thinking, whatever she will be doing, that will be affecting the fetus, and the child which will be born will have some of the characters which mother has experienced during the time of pregnancy. Why? Because her mind is full of that. So her mind can influence the child's mind. Now this is the principle. You will find that if you are constantly saying peace, strength, positivity, confidence, you will find that you are increasing in peace, confidence, and positivity. If you are constantly thinking about negative things, our minds will. That's why Patanjali says always focus on the positive things. Two types of vrittis are there: klishta vrittis, aklishta vrittis. Yoga never recommends to go on thinking, reflecting on the negative things. If something negative has happened, leave it there. Become free of. Focus on the positive thing. Focus on the right things. Because if you continue, you see here also you will find that yoga is not interested in going back to the source of where the problem started. Yoga is interested in you become so strong that the problem loses its all power. You don't have to go to the source again to kind of, because possibility is there that your mind may become so big, then again you will fall back in the negative rut. So this is how the mind functions. Now this is a slightly different psychology than the psychology we normally learn in the academics. Yoga psychology says that by focusing on positive, even if something negative is there, you can overcome that. So that principle is here. Lagutula samapattescha akashagamanam. By focusing on the light object, is as if the mind also acquires that quality of lightness. The body also acquires that quality of lightness. And that is also one of the reasons why the body can fly. So this is the explanation which is there in the sutra. Now all the possible connections I told you that this is how it happens. But lightness of body is something which personally I can vouch for. We all can feel that lightness if if we are doing asanas in a prescribed manner, in a correct manner. After successful session of yogasan, you will find as if your body has become very light and there's no resistance. Your every cell is so relaxed, and there is a space. You can feel the expansion, and that expansion is not only at the physical level. The expansion is at the psychological level. You become big. You become so big that you can encompass everything, all negativities, even the all people you can encompass within your mind. See, that is how the saints and sages and yogis are able to have that kind of expansive vision, expansive love for every. If we don't have that kind of expansiveness in our mind, in our feelings, then we cannot be that loving towards everybody like the yogis are. So it's all related to the certain kind of feeling. Now those feelings can be come to the level of experience. We all can experience that if we are doing certain techniques. So if that kind of experience is possible, then definitely body can become so light that it can float. Like in case of Maharshi Mahesh Yogi, in Western world, people became obsessed with levitation. No, that was the idea for maybe for around 50, 60 years back in America. Many people were learning this transcendental meditation, and they were interested in getting this floating idea, levitation from the ground. And some people claimed that they did succeed in levitating their body. Now these are unverified claims, so but then these claims are there that people can really rise above from the ground with certain techniques, and mainly they are all pranayam technique. Qigong is a pranayam. When I say qigong, what is qigong? Qi is prana, gong is discipline. Like prana, yeah, prana ayam, pranayam, regulation of breath, regulation of prana. Same way, qigong is regulation of prana. It's a pranayam at a different level, at a different kind of pranayam. So pranayam is the main technique, perhaps, as far as experiencing these kinds of things are concerned, because we also saw that Udana was responsible for this kind of thing. So these are the possible explanations, but very difficult to really explain how actually it must be happening. But like Wright brothers, they focused on this idea how to displace the air and make a flying machine, and they succeeded. Same way, Dr. Jaydev says yogi also do that. They are focusing on the relationship between the body and the air and body and the space, and maybe they work out some mechanism thereby they are making able to maybe displace the space, displace the air, and through that they are floating, through that they are flying in the sky. Quite possible that could be the answer, but we do not know for sure. So little tricky sutra. All these sutras are little tricky, difficult to understand. Because if you read only the sutra and commentary, you will be thinking kya ho raha hai, what they are talking about. So we have to somehow and try to understand. That's what we are trying to do. If there are questions. One important thing which remained, Hatha Yoga. In Hatha Yoga, same thing, why I told you that there's a connection of this sutra with the previous sutra. Previous sutra talked about what? Shabda. Now everybody has heard about Anahata Nada. Anahata Nada is the Shabda is there in the space. Shabda is the characteristics of sky, Akasha. Shabda is there in the body also. Anahata Nada is coming from the body. There's a continuous Anahat Nad going on in the body. So one of the essential technique of Hatha Yoga is listening to this sound. And when one is listening to this sound, that time also these kind of experiences are possible. Okay. If there are questions.
Yes, namaste, sir.
Namaste.
I was wondering, as you said, it is a technical sutra, but I kind of got stuck how the ahankar holds the cells together. That is a very difficult to understand concept. If you could elaborate on that.
Yeah. According to Sankhya, when the creation is taking place on the subjective side, what is created first? It is the Buddhi Tattva or Asmita, which comes first. And from pure Buddhi Sattva, it is the Abhiman or individual Asmita. And this individual Asmita is connected to Buddhi, which is moving, which is transmigrating. And all of us have this Asmita. So even when we die, this Asmita, this Buddhi, along with the Chitta, it migrates to another body. Now, when suppose that it migrates to another body, and it is being conceived in the womb of the mother by the coming together of father and mother. So when it is assuming that life form in the womb, there is a self-identity there. There is a kind of self-awareness there. If that self-awareness was not there, the fetus will not multiply in the womb and it will not grow. It will not grow into the full form of life. It has got certain amount of awareness, and in what form that awareness is there? This awareness is in the form of self. That's why if you pinch a small child, infant, he will cry and he will turn away from you, or he will try to pull away from you, because this self identity is there. So what is Asmita? What is Ahankar? This self identity. So at the core of our personality, what is holding our body? All the knowledge, all the experiences, everything we gather, we connect to what? Ultimately, we say, I, my body, my thoughts, my intelligence, my love, my hatred. Everything is connected to this I. So this I is the key nucleus which is holding the human organism together. And that is also holding it in a certain way so that the body remains life worthy. As long as that I sense is prevailing, the body will become life worthy and it will go on. And gradually, when the hold of that I will become less, gradually the pranas will weaken, and that will be the time when the soul has to, or the jiva has to leave the body. That is the Sankhya position. And when we look at uh, uh, let us take for example, in psychology, they talk about this self-awareness also. So an infant, a mother is conceiving, and when the child is born, this child is not given any care by the mother. That baby is not touched, that baby is not properly fed, that baby is not given the due care which mother is supposed to give. What will happen to that baby? Do you think that baby will grow up to be a good individual or a healthy individual or a thinking, reasonable individual he will become? He will be a totally distorted personality. He will not grow as an individual. So because his self gets nourishment from the mother, so his sense of self identity goes on becoming better and better. And according to psychology, a healthy person always will have a good self identity. If the good self identity is not there, the person cannot be called healthy according to psychology. So this self identity is so important. In fact, that self identity is holding together. Today you are what you are. Nobody else in the world is what you are. Nobody in the world is what I am. So it's true for each one of us. So maybe do some little deeper thinking on this. See how ego is holding the body. What is the relationship of the ego with the body, and what is the relationship of actions of the body? These are also very important because body is an instrument which ego is holding so that ego can perform certain actions. So little contemplation.
Sir, I could feel the relation of the kleshas, avidya, asmita, raga, dvesha, and abhinivesha, like how these they combine in relation to Ayurveda. Like, when we say kapha, pitta, and vata, as you say today, that, this asmita is the holding of the body. So the sanskars of raga are the kapha, the sanskar of dvesha are the pitta, and the sanskars of abhinivesha is vata. This is how the constitution of the body is made up of. So I could feel this relation because this combining of this sanskars of attachment that forms the kapha part of.
Yeah. So it begins with the asmita.
Yes. So, like, what is avidya then? Like, I could now find a relation.
Avidya is very transcendental. If avidya was not there, the asmita will not be there, and the
Body
organism
will not be there.
body will not be. So
Okay.
avidya is there at the back of the asmita. Drak darshan shaktayor ek atmateva asmita. Drak shakti and darshan shakti, when they unite. Why they unite? Because of avidya. Otherwise, there is no reason for them to unite.
Right. So I could actually feel everything, all the science is all same, and it's talking about the same thing.
Yes, basically they are talking about the same thing. The only thing we have to have that imagination, we have to have that mental capacity to be able to see all the connections.
Wonderful session, sir. Because in the last Vipassana session only, I could feel the relation of the kapha, pitta, and vata, and today I got the relation of the asmita. Nice.
Sir, I have a question. So, is there a connection between the mind also getting lighter? I mean,
Yeah, definitely. Because mind is also ultimately matter. It is also sattvic, rajasic, tamasic. Only the chetna is not. Otherwise, everything is sattva, rajas, tamas. So when mind becomes sattvic, we feel light. Body becomes sattvic, we feel light. So gunas also come into play. We did not talk about gunas, but sattva will be always light and uplifting and moving. Tamas will be always, so ego is tamasic. Ego holds on to it makes the body tamasic, and so the weight comes. The sattvic the body, the lighter the body. The tamasic the body, the heavier the body. Lots of connections are there.
I think it's very magnanimous, the topic, I think.
Yeah,
It's really exploding from.
Yeah, it is.
Very interesting. I think the way you explain to us, I think that makes a lot of difference in understanding it also. Well, we cannot even imagine how it's possible, but the way you have, formatted this class, so I can at least understand with the qigong and with those parallel examples, how we can actually go lighter mentally and physically. I mean, so there is a possibility of that kind of lightness in the system that it it goes against the nature. I mean, the elements.
Yes, you see what happened when I was learning sutras. When I was learning sutras, Dr. Jaydev had given me a responsibility. He said, "You will always come prepared in the class. And not only you will come prepared in the class, you will also research and you will find out what are the modern parallels which can be found, which are related to the sutras." So last 35, 40 years, every time I went to attend Sutra, I will do a lot of research with the Sutra and then related ideas. So what are the modern parallels in science or in other disciplines? And this is the way, I went on searching, and some of the things which I am telling you, it was done a long back. So now when I'm reading Sutra again, they come back, and so I'm sharing with you. So doctor had given this idea, even in science. He said, Find some parallels in science." Like when we were talking about one sutra, Nirmana Chitta. Yogis create artificial mind and they get the work done by this artificial mind. That is one of the sutra. And those days, computers were not all those developed. I'm talking about uh, year 84, 85, 86, 87, 88. Computers were not all those prevalent at that time. But that time, doctor has said, what is the connection between Nirmana Chitta Sutra and the artificial intelligence, which is now growing? That time, artificial intelligence was just at the beginning. It was infant stage. Computers were so big, they will occupy one computer will occupy one room or half room. So big computers were there at that time. Later on, we found that now mobile has got such a big power. But those days, doctor used to say that you find out connections with the modern parallels, modern science. So that's why that habit developed, and these examples. Now Qigong I practice, so I connected it with Qigong.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so
The
we'll leave it here.
wonderful- Yes.
We'll leave it here. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir. Namaste.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Everyone.
Namaste.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone.